Hello, I am so excited to chat today with Marc Cayle from Brand Choice, who is an expert franchise consultant with years of experience helping entrepreneurs navigate the world of franchise ownership. So, as you know, today I'm going to be asking you some questions, just kind of, about your world in franchising. And this could just be something that is helpful for anyone who's interested in learning more about franchising and just the whole process from a consultant's perspective. So thank you so much for joining me today, Marc.
Thanks, Lindsay. Nice to be here. Thanks for having
Good.
me.
Yes, yes, of course. So yeah, why don't we just start off and you can tell me a little bit more about your background and what has inspired you to become a franchise consultant.
Great. Well, it started around 30 years ago, actually.
Mhm.
I
30.
was, yes, I was selling group health insurance right out of college, and I sold a policy to a gentleman who had started a bread concept. They did European style bread retail from scratch in front of the customer on a daily basis, and I loved the bread. And I wound up selling him as a policy for the store, and he and I hit it off. And I kept bringing bread home, and it
Love
was the
bread.
best bread. Yeah, it was fantastic. Since then, I realized that I have celiac, so that wasn't the
Oh,
best in the world. But
not
it
great.
was honestly, it was worth it. It was so good.
Yeah.
And one day he approached me. He's like, "Listen, I think I'm going to franchise this concept. Are you interested?" And I'm like McDonald's? Like I had no idea what franchising was at that point.
Yeah.
So he was a Harvard MBA, brilliant guy, awesome person. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that. And I wound up literally joining the team as the director of franchise development and cut my teeth on that the hard way. I mean, he was very scrappy, and we literally wrote what was then called the Uniform Franchise Offering Circular, which is
Hmm.
now the FDD. We wrote it together.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and so I really learned scrappiness and grounds up franchising. Wound up running every aspect of the store on the retail side, just so I would learn the concept. And then really jumped in and started selling franchises and sold about, I don't know, maybe 40 in the first 2, 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And then he wanted to put the brakes on after about 5 or 6 years and really
Oh.
just catch up on supporting the existing franchisees.
Mhm.
And at that point, I was like, well, my whole job is selling franchises. So if you don't want to sell franchises anymore, we're going to have a problem here. And just at that point, Fran Choice was beginning. And
Oh,
I connected with the founder, Jeff Elgin, and I was the second consultant to join the company 25 years ago.
oh my God, amazing.
So it's been a long road of helping people figure this out, but that's really how it started. And along the way, I also became a multi unit franchisee myself for an in home care concept. And we had 250 caregivers by the time we were peaking. And my attorney dropped a buyer in my lap with an absurd number, and we accepted it and took the money and ran. But had a great run and a great exit. And so when I'm helping people, I've walked the talk. I've been a franchisor, a multi-unit franchisee with a
Yeah.
good exit, and a
Mhm.
consultant. So I've done all three.
Oh, that is amazing. That would definitely be helpful helping new people, especially brand new people, explore franchising because this world is, I know for me, it was like, oh, I did not even know that it was like this or it existed.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah. So when you are working with clients, what is your whole process for understanding them, like their goals, their skills, their financial needs before you even go ahead recommending any franchise options to them?
Yeah, there's a very specific process that I go through, and the first thing is certainly the initial phone call, and that could last half hour, 45 minutes if we're chatty enough. And I'm just trying to
Yep.
like gain rapport, get to understand the person, what their goals are, where they've been, those kind of things. And then there is a confidential questionnaire that they fill out. It takes them about a half hour. Just gives me a 50,000 foot view of them, and so we can then dive into a full 2 hour Zoom call where we're diving into all the details of what attributes make sense for the person. Instead of saying, well, Lindsay likes to golf, so let's open a golf store, we say,
Mhm.
let's find a concept that gives Lindsay the resources and time that she can golf when she wants.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, you have to look at the attributes of the business. What kind of employees? Are they skilled? Are they unskilled? Are we talking about a service? Are we talking about a retail concept? What does the sales cycle look like? What does the marketing look like? All these different things. And the concept actually winds up really like a widget. It doesn't matter which franchise they choose as long as the attributes of that business match. And that's the most important thing. So that's really how we get down to it.
Yeah, it would definitely have to be a very, thorough process and, lots of questions getting to know one another.
Right.
So how do you evaluate and vet franchises before you recommend them to your clients? Like I guess, what criteria is most important to you?
So the first thing is that franchise vets all of the franchises that we have in the inventory. There's over 200 of them. And
Right.
so we rely on the expertise of the home office in order to do that. We have a team that does that. They talk to the franchisees as if we were going to be becoming franchisees ourselves. We really understand the concepts and understand the culture and the day-to-day operational needs. Is it a manager run business? Is it an owner operator business? Are there bigger businesses that can be built, like a regional development or multi-units, those kind of things?
Mhm.
So when we look into the franchises, we're really also very, very, very intent on, is it smart franchising? Are they opening as many as they're selling? So if they've got 200 sold, but only 30 or 40 open, there's going to be a long wait in order for you to get open because they're too worried about getting the existing ones up and running and open. So
Mhm.
a lot of these things, and some people have that time. Some people are independently wealthy. They just want to diversify their portfolio. I'm working literally with 3 people like that right now, where there's like, they don't have to do it. They're just
Mhm.
bored and they want
Yeah.
to build a legacy for their family and their kids to get involved, those kind of things. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But when we're vetting, it's the franchisors have to pass muster with franchise first. And then with me, I work with those franchises that I know that are really smart about their growth.
Mhm. So that's kind of neat, to because knowing that there are candidates that have someone like you to help them in their, journey through franchising, you have the company franchise that you work with to help kind of guide you to work with some of the what they consider, the best franchises out there.
Exactly.
So it's kind of nice that, there's like support and guidance throughout the whole thing from start to finish. So
Exactly.
interesting. I never really looked at it like that before. I was like, oh yeah, I guess they don't just like let anyone through the door.
No, they don't.
They're
Matter of fact, the staff at franchise like beats franchisors off with a stick. I mean,
yeah.
they come to us because they know that the candidates that we send them are going to be handed to them on a silver
Yep.
platter. They're going to be ready to go. They're going to be pre-vetted as well. And not every person that we talk to is a good fit.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of people that I talk to at the end of the first couple of calls. I'm like, you know what? You're either too entrepreneurial to be a franchisee, you are not ready financially. There's a lot of reasons why people just wouldn't be approved to
Right.
begin
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good to have all of that kind of that guideline in place there.
with. Right.
So, what is an example of a challenging client placement? Like, how did you work through that to find that person a good franchise fit?
So it's interesting. The biggest challenges are typically revolved around funding. And
Mm,
so we have got funding partners that help people figure out what they can be approved for. It's like when you buy a house, you go to the bank and you get pre-approved for
yep.
a loan so that the seller knows or your broker knows that you can actually pull the trigger when you're ready. So in those cases, I hand them off to our funding sources that are professional. This is all they do is help people finance franchises all day long. And either they'll get approved or pre-approved or they won't, right? And
Yep.
so the people who aren't, sometimes they'll say, well, let me go get a couple of investors. And typically what I tell them is if you need an investor and you have to divide up the pie, it's probably not a good idea. Uh,
Yeah.
unless it's something where it hardly ever is. Let's just say
Mhm.
that. Um, but other than that, the most challenging are people who they assume they know more than they do,
Hmm.
or they're too entrepreneurial to be a franchisee. And so I would say when I helped someone that is quote unquote difficult, it's typically around the funding side because
Yeah.
I really only work with the willing anyway. If they're willing to do something, great. If they're not, I've got a bunch of people behind them that are ready. So I just don't waste their time or mine, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then how do you tailor your approach for clients with varying financial situations or business backgrounds?
So one of the ways we vet the whole process
Yeah.
is up front, we understand what the investment level is that they're willing to make.
Yeah.
If you have a $10 million net worth and you're willing to spend 100,000 in cash, we can do that.
Yep.
If you have $100,000 net worth and you've got 20 grand to spend, that's going to be a problem.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of ways to go about this, and there we always get to the bottom of it.
Yes. Yeah. Again, knowing the right questions to ask, getting to know your client, that kind of stuff. Good. So, how about of a particular story where a client did choose the right business for themselves, and you obviously were a big part of that, and they found success. So,
Sure.
how does that make you feel to help someone fulfill their dream of getting into business for themselves?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite story is a gentleman that I've been working with for over 20 years. He and I started the process, and one of the things we say to the people is, "I'm going to show you things you never would have thought of in a million years on your own."
Yeah.
And this was the case here. He was an IT guy, and he wound up going with one location of a hair care concept, like literally cutting hair.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was not cutting hair himself. He hired the people to do
Hmm.
that. So fast forward, he now has 17 of those locations. He had come back to me for a second concept that would have been complementary to his first,
Oh.
wound up to be a massage concept. He has now, I think, 18 or 19 of those. And he just came back to me for a third concept and just signed an agreement for 3 of those locations. And so I'm helping people build empires. They're coming
Mhm.
back for more, they're diversifying, they're coming back for more units of each concept. So that is a one success story. I have several more, but
Of
he's
course.
he's one of my favorite guys. I mean, we're like brothers.
Oh,
Not only that, he's referred probably 15 people
yeah.
along the way. And our joke is that, well, he just moved, but his old street, we should have called Franchise Row because all of his neighbors did franchises through there. Uh,
That's so awesome.
yeah, so it's a lot of fun when you've been in it this long. You
Yeah.
build relationships and people come back for more, so it's pretty fun.
You definitely got more, or you do get more out of it with, some people that you work with than, just helping them find a concept. Like you get lifelong relationships.
Yeah,
So
you really do.
that really is, rewarding. Why wouldn't you keep doing this then, right?
I love it. I tell people if I won the lotto tomorrow, I would continue doing this.
Absolutely. That's awesome because, being involved in something or doing something that doesn't really feel like work, like that's winning for sure.
Yeah, and
So,
when I go back and I call them or I email them regularly saying, "Hey, how things going?" And they're giving me positive feedback. Some of them
yeah.
say, "Listen, this is a challenge and this is why." And I can help them because I did it myself too. I can
Yeah.
sort of consult with them and say, "Hey, this is how you get around that marketing, jug issue
Yeah.
that you're having or whatever." But I have relationships with these people. It's great.
Yeah. That is great. So what are some of the most common misconceptions that, you have to address? Like how do you go about, addressing that, I guess, with people?
Sure, I think the biggest one is franchising is food.
Yeah. Oh,
And
definitely.
I can tell you that we have over, like I said, over 200 concepts and like 4 or 5 of them are food. I mean,
Yeah.
it's first of all, food is hard.
Hmm.
Secondly, just because you like Jimmy John's doesn't mean you should open a Jimmy John's. It's
That's
just
right.
the same thing as the golf thing, right?
Yeah.
And so a huge misconception is that there's only one type of lane in franchising. I mean, look at Schoolie, right? Schoolie Mitchell
Mhm.
is a totally people would never think of that.
Right.
I just did an introduction this morning for Schoolie Mitchell,
Mhm.
and the gentleman was like, "Huh, never knew that that kind of thing existed." And I said, "Yeah, I know. That's what I'm here for."
Yeah.
But it's amazing that people's ideas of franchising are just one specific thing because
Yeah.
that's just it's their head trash of they just don't know. They don't know what
Yeah.
they don't know. And I think the other big misconception is that it costs a fortune to get into franchising. Um,
Mhm.
and look at School Mitchell. I mean, it's could be under 100 grand, right?
Yeah.
And I tell people every day, I'm not here to spend all your money. I'm here to spend your money on a concept that's going to give you a great return, have low overhead, easy to scale, all the things you're looking for. And that doesn't necessarily have to cost a lot of money. There's plenty
Yeah.
of concepts out there that are very affordable for a lot of people. And also, people don't understand how you fund a franchise. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. You can
Mhm.
do it through a home equity line of credit. You can do it through a HELOC, a ROBS, which is rolling over your 401k.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot of different ways to manage that, and people have to get educated, and that's what people like me can do for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I know it's definitely good to address those misconceptions, sorry, so that, let's get that out of the way. Yeah, like you said, just because you enjoy eating something doesn't mean you should have that. That's one fast way to start hating it for sure.
Exactly. You'll never
So,
eat another Jimmy John sub, I can guarantee you
yeah,
that.
no, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah,
Good. Well, I mean, I very much appreciate you joining me today and sharing your insights. I know that this will probably be very valuable information for anyone who's interested in learning more about franchising or business ownership. So, or even, what it's like to be a franchise consultant. So, thank you so much for your time today, Mark. It was great catching up with you.
absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Great. All right. Thanks.